Hello and welcome to Axe World, where Axe is the meta and it just seems to be being more and more meta every time. And a good player with this Axe is going to beat everyone. Some people are like, oh yes, I just outkite the great Axe. Well, they can outkite you and then they can do more damage. Get good. So let's talk about builds for the great Axe and where we are in the 1.1 meta. Now, your primary weapon as a melee is always going to be the great Axe because it's great. The way that this is my build for Outpost Rush and for Wars, I make some slight changes when I'm not in those, and I'll let you know what that is. But here's what we do. Charge, because you need to sometimes be able to move and get out stuff, and the fact that it has grip means you get 20% damage reduction whenever you use it because of Enduring Strike, so you can move around. Enduring Strike applies to 300 strength plus grit, so that means on light attacks you take 20% less damage. Absolutely fantastic. You notice I'm not using Gravity Well. Well, that's because since they fixed Resilience, I don't need it. Now, what you can do with Reap and with Maelstrom is after 2 left clicks, you go for Reap, 2 left clicks, Maelstrom. You will burst through the HP of every medium and light build there is in the game, and, well, you make them dead. That's it. It's great. It's fantastic. That's why you do it. Perks I've taken here is going in with Death's Embrace. It penetrates more than 10% armor. It's closer to around 18% last time I checked, unless they fixed it. Critical gains, you heal yourself when you crit, and if you hit anyone in the back, you're constantly healing yourself. Frustration we have to take to get down, but if they block, which a lot of people do, with say the hammer or the shield, damage. Keen Edge, critical damage increased by 10%, also pretty nice. Feed, great attacks against someone below 30%, also heal you. Bloodlust, still the single most overpowered and best ability in the game. You just get more damage and speed by looking at someone. Combining with Maelstrom, which will hit twice and will pull them towards you to do 2 damage. It hits, and same with Reap. This will actually massively outdamage Execute unless they are below 50% health. But if you're using Execute on someone below 50% health and they're not moving so you can get that back attack, they probably would have already been dead from a Maelstrom or Reap. So it's just too situational. I don't recommend it. And so you're always best to have the AoE abilities. Someone taking Execute, sign of a bad user. If you're not playing a pure DPS and you're playing more of a CC crowd control, then you drop Maelstrom and you go into Gravity Well, and then you'll combine this build with the hammer, but we'll talk about secondary options. When it comes to duels or some small skirmish stuff, you're going to want to drop Center of Attention, you're going to want to drop Crowd Protection, you're going to want to get Gravity, and you're going to want to get Critical Condition. This means when they're low, you'll crit more and they'll die. But more importantly, it means that Reap and Maelstrom will have a route between their first and second hits. If you catch someone with the Reap and you pull them, they can't dodge out of the second hit because they get rooted. The same with Maelstrom, so that guarantees 2 hits on these. So when you're not using these 2 perks, that's when you want to pick that up. Good things to combine this with. Sword. If you don't want to die, you can go Sword. A Sword can also, as a secondary, be paired with the Warhammer. Before I said I couldn't decide between Clear Out and between Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball now provides an 8-second Fortify. Wrecking Ball, the recommended. Because there is no such thing as a stagger cap, Path of Destiny is a terrible 1v1 ability, but 10 of you, 5 of you popping out Path of Destiny, you can infinitely stagger someone whilst they're getting bullied by everyone else. Suddenly becomes a fantastic ability, and it's a good way to slow people down at range trying to escape from you. Shockwave, something that can be dodged, but if they can't dodge and you land a Shockwave that has the armor penetration on, you get a free heavy after that, and yeah, you will pretty much half health someone just by landing Shockwave and then a heavy afterwards. Fantastic combo. You have to use it wise, you can't just throw it out. But if there's 5 to 10 of you in a war, maybe up to 30, you're all spamming shit like this, people are just going to be infinitely slept, infinitely taking damage, and this is the stuff that lags out servers and causes your teams to just get instant wins. It's been a problem since launch. Hammer was always a bad 1v1 weapon, but for some reason they put collision abilities that can crash the server and allow people to very easily take points. This is why you use it. You want to be in Wars and Outpost Rush, you want to be spamming Path of Destiny on point. You want to be spamming Shockwave on point. You want to be using Wrecking Ball to keep your defenses up. If you want to go for a full CC build, like I said, you can pair this with the Great Axe, drop Maelstrom, you go into Gravity Well, fantastic CC. You can also, say, put the Sword with the Great Axe, which you can go for full damage build with a 300 strength sword build, or if you don't want to go 300 strength, you want to go 200 con, so you can get more from heavy armor. You drop this, you go into Gravity Well. If you're going for a pure DPS build like this setup, consider light and medium. Yes, it will up your damage by 20 or 10% depending which one you're using. Pretty spicy. It is pretty spicy. If you're going full heavy, Gravity Well. Drop Maelstrom, go into Gravity Well, full heavy, great. You can combine it with the sword, great. You can combine it with the Warhammer, which is also good. Alternatively, you can go Hatchet. Now, Hatchet is good on a pure DPS build. Infected Throw, you still can't 1v1 a healer with it. But you throw this onto a point, and yeah, you are lowering healing by 30%. So that will actually help your allies kill people that are in healing. Very good for wars and outpost rush. If you're doing 1v1s, I would say go into Raging Torrent, because anyone who makes the mistake to trade Raging Torrent is going to die. Very few people will do it, though. That's why I'm actually built in over here. Feral Rush is an interrupt. People don't realize this. Feral Rush can interrupt a cast of an ability, and if you hit someone in the back, it can also root them, and if they're low on health, it is incredible burst damage that you can use to quickly kill someone. People don't use the Hatchet correctly, and they say it's a bad weapon, and I just say you're bad at the game. Like, once you learn the mechanics of this weapon and you use it properly, because you don't use it to go left click, left click, left click, you use it to pop a berserk, to close distance, to get the self heal, you throw out Infected Throw to get the disease out so people can't heal as much, and then you root people in the back or finish them with Feral Rush. Like, you just quickly, like, you could charge in, Feral Rush them, go back to your Great Axe, and then you're fine. It's an absolutely fantastic option. But yes, for pure melee DPS, Great Axe, Hatchet, Warhammer, Sword. Those are the weapons you're going to be using. When it comes to Dex builds and Hunter builds, they're a bit of a meme. They can do good damage. They can do good damage. But I just feel like when it comes to Outpost Rush, outside of stealing a Baron, they don't really add much. Yes, Musket can do a lot of damage, but that's only abusing a current glitch. I'm not going to explain that now. And yes, even on an int build, yes, some int builds that you can combine them, but I talked about that in the Mage video, so we won't talk about that here. But let's talk about gearing. 300 strength adds grip. Fantastic. Now, on the other two builds, I said to go above 300, but the reason I'm not suggesting this for pure melee is if you're in a medium dodge, you do want to get more armor. So I'd be trying to say to get armor up as much as possible and even using food buffs. If you can get to 200 constitution and 300 strength, become an unkillable god. It is so broken in the current meta for this game right now that you can do it, do it. Fantastic. Like, just all 600 gear, hit those 2 breakpoints. Fantastic. If, however, you can only get to, say, 150 because you can't get all 600 gear, you want to take advantage of using a Void Vent chest or any other 600 gear score heavy chest with 490 gear, so that way you have maximum mitigation with no stat loss. If you do want to go up to 520, that's fine. You will mitigate less, but you'll still have the same stats as if you were in the 490. And for PvP, this is exactly how you want to do it. PvE, obviously, you want to use the 520. I've explained in the last 2 videos. If you want more explanation on the way that armor scaling works and why you mitigate more if your chest piece is higher gear score than your others, then do check out the previous 2 videos where I've gone into it there. But this is sort of how you want to build with melee. When it comes to items, a good item from a side quest you get, Infinity Crystal. This is pretty much a Biz one. So you can get a 600 gear score version of the same thing. This is Biz. Beginning, pretty much Biz. It gives you extra critical chance, it gives you extra dodges, it reduces your cooldowns, and it increases your main stat. It's one of the best rings to get. You can get between 500 and 600. I highly recommend it. And the same, a good starting place, Ill-Gotten Gains. You start with this, and then you start trying to get better versions up to a 600 gear score. You can move around some of these perks, but those are the ones you're going to be wanting to build towards and what you're going to want to be doing. When it comes to wars, we all know that the meta combination is Great Axe and Warhammer and going absolutely spam happy. You can, like I said, if you don't want to be pure DPS and say you want to go 200 con, you lose Maelstrom, you go into Gravity Well. That way you have more CC. Alternatively, if you don't want any CC at all, you just want to be all DPS all the time, you go Great Axe and you go Hatchet. Very good. If you want to be a point controller, you go Sword and you go Warhammer. And you'll be on point, and if you have a healer, people are going to struggle to kill you. People will definitely struggle to kill you. Alternatively, you can even go Sword to be a defender, and if you've gone 300 strength with 200 con, because your gear score is just absolutely fantastic with food buff, then you can also pair that with the Great Axe, so you can be a defender and pure DPS. Like, melee right now is the meta because life staff got reduced, but it's still great. Mages got gutted. Like, oh my god, mages got gutted so hard. And so did bows. Like, bows used to be able to combo abilities with your basic attacks, which you can't do now. So their DPS has dropped exponentially. Like, a good Great Axe main will probably beat everyone because it's the lowest skill ceiling class, but if you can master the basics of this game, like medium dodge, to just dodge like the very slow auto attacks and abilities of all range classes, which is easy to do because they can't combo as quickly as, well, the Great Axe can. Great Axe can do 4 attacks in a rotation with Reap and Maelstrom. You don't have that with ranged classes. They can heavy, which they can't move during, which is laughable. If they heavy, you dodge that and then they're in trouble. Or they can basic attack, and that's it. They can cancel that into an ability, but you've got 2, 3, or 4 dodges depending on your setup. And yeah, it's pretty easy to counter. Like if you're using Hearty, you've got 3 dodges even in full heavy. If you're using the medium build, you've got 3 dodges normally, and then with Hearty, you've got gap bearer there. And yeah, and if you're just going to go and you're just going to dominate them. As long as you play smart, you don't drain your stamina, you can kite them just as easily as they think they can kite you. But with your rocket LMBs, you're going to close the gap that they're not going to be able to escape from, and you will kill them. Just my tip is, don't double click. When you go for your first left click, wait to see what they do. If during the first left click they roll, you don't second left click, you keep walking forwards, and then you can left click and they'll never escape your range. Just as long as you don't double tap that hit. You can also cancel your ability into a Reap or Maelstrom, and if you drop Crowded Protection and Center of Attention, or even just one, just get Gravity, Reap and Maelstrom will also root them, so they won't just be able to escape. You can reap people out of Burnout, you can reap people out of Flachet. There's so much you can do. Right now, this needs some tuning, because it's probably the best DPS options, as well as the best tanking options in the game. And yeah, you can even combine a lot of these with healer builds. But that's it, that's Melee, and that's where we are at 1.1. Let me know what you're playing, and yeah, depending on how well these this video and the previous two, depending on how well they'll do, I might cover decks. But if there's no interest, I'm not going to bother covering decks, because I don't want to go for that pain. But I will get some gameplay footages up all of these. I said in the first video, the reason that this is just me talking was a lot of people complained that I was showing too much gameplay and not showing the stats enough and not telling you exactly what gear to use. Well, hopefully this has helped, and yeah, I'll put all the references below, and I'll see you all in the next one. So this is Revan, and I hope you're still enjoying the game. Right now, I'm hoping they pull out this nosedive. AGS need to bring back a lot of players, is what I'm going to say. Anyway, till next time, Revan out.